Muliaina'S believes that Scott Robertson didn't have a big enough pack to beat the Springboks. Ex-All Blacks forward Muliaina'S believes that Scott Robertson didn't have a big enough pack to beat the Springboks in the Rugby Championship. New Zealand departed South African shores after suffering back-to-back defeats to the Springboks, falling at Ellis Park and Cape Town Stadium. The Springboks fought back in both test matches and are now on the cusp of winning the Rugby Championship for the first time since 2019. Robertson's side unraveled in the second of the two tests, and Mexted believes that it was the lack of size of the New Zealand back row and the team's inability to win the possession battle. 46% possession doesn't sound like a lot under 50%, but it is when the opposition's mistakes are from things like knock-on, Mexted said on the platform NZ. Whereas I thought with that our line-out with our three loose forwards, they're all about 61 or 62, and you've got guys that are 2 meters in the opposition loose forwards. When there is such a big height difference, there is always going to be a problem. I've said for years now that you need at least 3 absolute minimum of 3 good line-out jumpers, so normally you get the 2 locks that are capable of winning the ball and one of the loose forwards possibly 2. You don't have to look back very far to see that the All Blacks have actually had 4 line-out forwards, and for many, many years. All Blacks legend Blast show pony referee for disgraceful officiating in Springboks win. The All Blacks were able to put the Springboks line-out under pressure during the fixture in Cape Town, but ultimately it was a Pieter-Steph du Toit steal that sealed the result, with the back rower lifted by Locke Ebenezabeth helping him beat Tupou Vaa'i to the ball. With Wallace Satiti, Sam Cane, Artie Savia and Luke Jacobson featuring in the back row for the All Blacks, Mexted bemoaned the height differences in comparison to the Boks and previous All Black stars. You look back at guys like Shannon Frizzell, Jerome Kaino, and Kieran Reid, these sorts of guys, and there are a hell of a lot of line-out forwards in the Springboks loose trio, and we didn't have any that could compete against the opposition, particularly on their ball, he added. If you look at the number of line-outs, we did well in a way because we moved it around, but we still lost the line-out battle, so when you lose possession you have a hard road to hoe. Law discussion. The Sam Cane infringement against the Springboks that referees must start penalizing more. The result on Saturday means that the All Blacks have now lost 4 successive matches against the Springboks and won from 4 in the Rugby Championship. Mexted still holds the belief that the All Blacks should be expected to win every game they play, and says that it was the fear of losing that used to inspire them. My opinion is obviously colored by the fact that I expect the All Blacks team to win every game, he said. I'm sure as hell that during my era playing for the All Blacks, we were expected to win every game, and in fact, you look over 100 years of All Black performances and you win 80% of the time. You got to say you get used to winning. In the old days, it was the fear of losing that drove us. It was saying, do you want to be part of an All Blacks team that loses? No thank you. The Lions are better off going to South Africa. England Centurion rips into proper dark state of Australian rugby. I expect them to win them all. When I heard about these 2 tests in South Africa, 2 tests, I thought fantastic, 2 of the best teams in the world meeting on South African soil, but it brings in a whole lot of other complexities, and we spoke about altitude, and people underrate altitude. People wondered why the All Blacks faded in the last 15 minutes in Johannesburg. I reckon it was the altitude. Then our second tier came on, maybe weren't as good as our first tier of players. In Cape Town, I reckon it was the size, we just physically weren't big enough to continue winning our share of possession. I do expect the All Blacks to win each game, and I couldn't confess that I think the Springboks will win in Johannesburg. I said the Springboks will go in his favorites, but I said well win in Cape Town, and I was hoping like hell we were going to win in Cape Town, but when I saw the team announced I thought the chances were unlikely. Read more. Sir John Kirwan hails the Springboks, who remind him of the 2015 All Blacks. Muliaina'S has slammed the performances of the officials in the All Blacks' defeat to the Springboks. An All Blacks legend has bemoaned 2 changes which the All Blacks did not make to their starting 15 for Saturday's clash with the Springboks. If you're a fan of the All Blacks, write "Go All Blacks" in the comments and subscribe to the channel. That's all for today's breakdown. But before you go, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on the notifications bell so you never miss a video on everything All Blacks. We've got a lot more coming your way, and you don't want to miss it. What's your opinion on Muliaina'S' take? Do you think the size difference is the key factor? Or do you see other issues? Drop your thoughts in the comments. All Blacks players dejected after Springboks loss, and Centurion Muliaina. Muliaina insists that Super Rugby is a key factor in the All Blacks' struggles this year. Although Scott Robertson's men were competitive in both matches, they failed to claim a win in the Republic, succumbing to defeats in both Johannesburg and Cape Town. The Springboks emerged 31-27 triumphant at Ellis Park before overcoming the same opponents 18-12 a week later to continue their winning streak in the Rugby Championship. They are well on course for the title as New Zealand appear set to lose their grip on the trophy they have lifted for the past 4 years. Robertson and the players, as well as pundits and fans, have been left searching for answers as to why the All Blacks have now lost 3 of their previous 4 games. With the inquest already starting, Muliaina has criticized the current incarnation of Super Rugby, which got rid of South Africa in 2020, for negatively impacting the national team. It is now a primarily Antipodean tournament, but Australia have struggled to be competitive against the New Zealand franchises. I don't think our competitions are healthy. Our competitions aren't turning our up-and-comers into quality, world-class All Blacks, he said on Sky Sports Breakdown. They're going out there in pressure situations, and that's where they're folding. You can't teach that at the lower grades because we're playing against the Aussies. The South Africans have found their groove because they've gone overseas and played hardened rugby, but they've also got a style of rugby which also suits them. We've got to find that in our competitions. I don't agree that our competitions are as competitive as what they should be. All Blacks legend left with a lot of questions after better Springboks prove him wrong. New head coach Robertson will inevitably come under pressure, but Muliaina has called for patience from the supporters. The All Black Centurion believes there is currently a lack of balance in the back row, and that there is too much focus on what the opposition is doing. However, the 44-year-old insists that New Zealand and the coaching staff can't truly be judged until much later down the line. I think it's more of an 18 months to 2 years. You've got to give them time. They're starting to develop guys in certain roles, he said. Have we got the perfect mix in terms of the Lussies? I don't think we have. We're often reacting to what the other teams are doing. Why should we pick a bench to counter another bench? You've got to find your DNA, and we know what that is. Read more. All Blacks. What Damien McKenzie's reported European switch means for his Test future. The All Blacks head coach has so far presided over 3 defeats in 7 matches. Muliaina has identified 2 key facets of play, which proved costly for the All Blacks in Saturday's loss to the Springboks. Jeff Wilson and Muliaina have given their opinions on Bongi Mbonambi's try in South Africa's win over New Zealand in Johannesburg on Saturday. After arguing that the current laws don't suit the All Blacks' DNA, their legendary players now want more scrums. Planet Sport Limited 2024 All rights reserved. All Blacks head coach Scott Robertson and former player Muliaina. Muliaina insists that the All Blacks' upcoming games against the Wallabies take on an added importance for the team and Scott Robertson. New Zealand is already out of Rugby Championship title contention after successive defeats to the Springboks in Johannesburg and Cape Town. They desperately need a pair of victories over Australia to lift spirits, especially with Joe Schmidt's outfit coming off the back of a record loss in Argentina. Another reversal would therefore be unthinkable for the All Blacks, who are seeking to retain the Bledisloe Cup for another season. They have kept hold of the trophy for 21 consecutive years, and Robertson's men are expected to extend that run when they go head-to-head with the Wallabies in their next 2 Rugby Championship encounters. If you are a fan of the All Blacks, write "Go All Blacks" in the comments and subscribe to the channel. Psychologically, the All Blacks have got to get back on board. Yes, there was some good stuff, but the next 2 games against the Wallabies, I think, will be the most crucial of Scott Robertson's reign, Muliaina said on the breakdown. He's got to get the mental edge from the players. For all the criticism Robertson's predecessor, Ian Foster, received during his tenure, he won 4 successive Rugby Championship titles. That included the 2022 success, which saw the All Blacks lose one of their 2 home games against Argentina before heading to South Africa. Jake White believes the All Blacks have lost their ability in a crucial area after the naive Springboks defeat. Foster's side succumbed to the Springboks in Bombila, but unlike in 2024, they turned it around to claim a 35-23 triumph. With that Rugby Championship streak now over, Muliaina insists that it is vital New Zealand and Robertson don't make more unwanted history and relinquish the Bledisloe Cup. It's hard when you're expected to win, and you want to win. When you strip things back, they are getting better, he said. The next couple of games against the Wallabies, they have to make sure they get back on the horse and win well. There were positive signs in the narrow losses to the Springboks, but ultimately Robertson's record now stands at 4 wins and 3 defeats in his 7 games so far. Muliaina is worried that could have an impact on the players going into the Bledisloe Cup clashes, but hopes they can get into a good place mentally. They're not far away, but the big thing for me is psychologically. They've got to get over that, because if you're parking up and thinking about where this is and what's happened, the last thing you want to do leading into the Wallabies game is think you're down and out, and not as good as you think you are, he added. Now, before we move on, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications so you don't miss any updates or game breakdowns. We've got more exciting content lined up, and we don't want you to miss out. What do you think? Can the All Blacks turn it around and keep hold of the Bledisloe Cup? Or are the Wallabies going to break the streak? Let us know in the comments.